I don't want to feel hurt anymore. I don't want to feel like F love, that's not real kind of stuff. Because I did believe in love, you know, and then if you have faith, it's like God is love.
Welcome again to another episode that I got an accent, so what? And I have a beautiful Dominican queen. Her name is Heidy De La Cruz. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, my love. I'm gonna share you guys a story. Heidy's a common person put us together, right? And I had no idea, and you guys will see that we don't have much on each other, but today's we're gonna share because we love collaboration. That's what it's all about. And especially the person that put us together said, you guys, you're gonna enjoy it. She thinks like us, has your vision, and I'm like, bring it on. I love meeting people that we can relate and collaborate.
Yes, I love that.
So thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and trusting the process. Now, my question to you is, do you got an accent?
I don't know, do I? I don't think I do.
That's what I thought. I used to think the same way until people
told you, right? And then it's funny, I was born in New York, but I didn't live there. Like my parents moved out right away. So when I tell people, or I told somebody then, they're like, oh yeah, you have a New York accent. I'm like, no, I don't.
Not a real hardcore.
Yeah, I was like, that's probably the Dominican in me, but
yeah. So you were born in New York, and you went back to Dominican?
No, raised in Michigan.
Michigan, okay.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
So you're first generation of Dominican American.
Yeah.
In the States.
Yeah.
I'm sure even though you were, born and raised here, I'm sure your roots are very, very rooted in you.
Yep.
We can say she has a better accent than me, guys. But love all my amazing Latino community and our sisterhood. I think the more that we do together, the more we bring awareness to who we are.
Yes.
And that melting pot of goodness and flavor that we all bring to life and to this world. So how was it growing up for Heidy? In United States, I'm sure you thought, like my son and my daughter, we are Americans, but then you see my son, he's like chocolatito, and I'm like, no, you are Cuban Peruvian.
Yeah.
How was it for you growing up in the land of the free, but with strong, Dominican roots?
It was interesting because growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, like I want to say growing up there wasn't a lot of Dominicans. Now there's more.
Okay.
So whenever I would, speak Spanish or say anything, like people would think I was Mexican. So it was like a lot of educating, like, no, Mexico is not the only Spanish-speaking country. And a lot of, if I had Hispanic friends, they were mostly Mexicans. There was like one or two Dominicans, but it wasn't that much. But it was just like, that struggle, like, my parents are Dominican, but we're in America, so let's, the American culture with the Dominican culture, sometimes they clashed, and so it was very, like, a lot of back and forth with my dad, too. Why can't I spend the night at my friend's house? No, nosotros no hacemos eso. Like, what are you talking about? Sleep at home. We don't do that. So it was just a lot of things that, like, my friends were allowed to do that I wasn't, and then also, like, food, obviously we try to keep our roots, eat our food and things like that. So it was a struggle. It was a clash.
Same thing for me. You see, it was not only for me. I thought that my mom was the strictest ever.
Oh, yes.
She never allowed me to sleep outside the house. Like, what?
Yeah.
What do you think you have a bed there for? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Wow. So growing up, strong, rooted parents on what your culture, what was one of the most things that you can remember that this is who I am, this is my culture, and I'm proud of?
Oh, everything, honestly. Funny because in Grand Rapids, they have a Hispanic festival in September. And I remember one year, Dominican and proud, I'm telling you. I had a do-rag, I had a shirt, I had the necklace, I had the socks, I had the flag, everything. Like I was repping from head to toe, but I was always proud, always proud. I would tell people, I'm Dominican. I try to educate as much as I could. Like this is what we do. These are the things that we eat and things like that. So, and also visiting too, like going back to the Dominican Republic, visit in the summer, Christmas. Oh my gosh, Christmas was so much fun. So just everything about being Dominican, I was always very proud of.
Not for nothing, guys, but being Caribbean is the most fun thing. And it's funny because I think one of the most like that. I mean, I'm from a small town in Guantanamo, Cuba, and it's right next to Haiti and Dominican Republic. So it's funny because for the rest of the Cuban in the world, they said that I sound Dominican
Oh,
in
yeah?
Spanish because we have so much of you guys' culture.
Okay.
And in Cuba, everybody that is from Cuba, they say they're from Havana, which is the capital.
Yeah.
And then there's a saying and there's a joke that you're like, which floor? Because everybody's from the capital, and people are not sometimes proud to say, hey, I was from a smaller town or something that is not famous. But that being Caribbean, our food, our music, and all the traditions. And I'm sure you guys have more tradition because in my country is a little more strict due to communism. But we have Dominican actually in our family.
Okay.
So there are three Peruvian brothers, and my husband married me, Cuban, and then the middle one married a Dominican, and then the oldest one married a Puerto Rican. So
Y'all are all mixed.
so we're all in the Caribbean. So
Yeah.
that's something that is very rooted, and within the family we try to learn as much as we can from each other and respect and all that.
That's good.
Copywriter,
Yes.
podcaster.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit of that.
Yes. So I started my blog in 2014.
Okay.
I started because I wanted to keep like a digital journal, just to like write my life experiences, things that I had went through, to kind of like just have something to look back on. Because as you get older, you forget certain things and things like that. So that's what I started doing. And then the more I got into blogging, the more I learned about it. And it's like, oh, okay, like this can become a business. This can be, a lot of things. And so it's changed throughout the years. I started sharing my poetry in 2017 on my blog because to me, like the poetry was like very personal, very, like soul bearing kind of thing. So finally, when I got the guts, I shared a little bit of my poetry, and that was a hit. So now I've changed the blog to a weekly newsletter.
Okay.
So pretty much I write about the same thing. Faith-based encouraging posts. So just like if there's anything that I went through and I found that there was a lesson in it that I feel like God wants me to share, I'll share that. Encouragement, I read a lot. So if I find like any book that I feel like are good for people to read, development, anything like that, like I'll write book reviews, share still poetries, and just my opinions on different things, different topics. So that's what I'm currently doing now. And with the whole blogging thing, like there's a whole like, I don't want to say science, but like, SEO and everything behind it to make sure that it gets ranked on Google and everything. So I help people with that. So like write blogs, articles, or even if they need help with like their newsletters, like whatever, I can write that for them. So they can hire me as a copywriter to write that.
Producer, you heard that? I think somebody needs to hire. We need to hire somebody. So I see the love of literature,
Yes.
poetry.
Yes.
At what age did that start at, Haiti?
7th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've been a writer my whole life. I remember just always having a notebook or a journal. I would write stories, songs. I'm not a singer, but I would write songs.
Okay.
Just everything. And then 7th grade, I had a journal specifically for poetry. And I shared it with one friend, and she was like, like your poems are good, you should share these. And I'm like, no. So it wasn't until 2017 that I actually shared them. But I ended up self-publishing a poetry book last year. So I finally got the courage to like put them all together and share with the world. So I did that. And so, so I just been a writer my whole life. And I feel like that's just the best way that I can express myself is through my writing.
How beautiful. We definitely need to be BFF over here. Because I was going to say, when my passion might come about writing, definitely my time.
Oh, no. It's never too late. Never.
7th grade. That's awesome. So that calling, that talent was developed. Obviously, you were born with that gift that comes from above. And how beautiful that it takes to the journey of finding out and definitely having the guts to do it. Because I think that's the execution part is what a lot of us lack, right? Fear, limitations that we put, how people are gonna be receptive to it. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Because I think it tells me a lot about yourself. It tells me a lot that yes, I might not feel confident in certain way, but I'm going to put myself out there. And that's one of the biggest way that we can learn and expose ourselves. So poetry, oh my goodness.
Yes.
We have a poet here.
Yes.
The best way that I express myself, Heidy, is just talking to people.
Love it.
Lila knows. She just listens to me. So the podcast it's you said it was, well, off camera. She confessed to me that it's been a year since you developed it.
Yep.
How did that all of a sudden come to life?
About. So 2019, I was at a Christian women's conference, and the host at that time, she has a podcast where she just has a friend, and they talk about like the things that they're doing in their life and how they're bringing people to Jesus and things like that. And so I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to show that I can talk to people, highlight what they're doing, and I even thought about like having a show of we had talked about off air, just talking about current events and sharing opinions and things like that. Because I also feel like we need to expand like who we talk to, expand perspectives and things like that. So that was 2019. I wasn't able to start it then. And then 2020, we all know, pandemic, the world shut down. I was not mentally prepared to do anything. I was dealing with my own mental health issues. And then 2021, I was pregnant. So I was dealing with that, focusing on the pregnancy. So 2022, I'm like, okay, this is the year I am going to do this podcast. And so then I was like brainstorming ideas at what I wanted to do. I'm a writer, as we've established, and I write on Medium. So as long as with writing comes with, reading other articles and commenting and networking. So I read an article about an immigrant who came from Kenya, and she was expressing the cultural shocks that she experienced here in the United States and how each one diminished her confidence in herself. Just being in a foreign country, language, everything, yes. And so I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Like, I don't hear it being talked about what happens once they get here, how they established their life here, how they adapted, what challenges they went through, or did anybody help them? How does that look like? We always hear about they're coming. That's it, right? So then I read the article, and then I asked my husband, because he came from the Dominican Republic when he was 9, right? So a little boy, 9 years old. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, like, do you remember when you got here to the United States? He was like, of course, like vividly. He remembers what he was feeling. He remembered what he saw. He remembered being excited. So he was telling me his experience, and I was like, that's a podcast episode right there. I was like, I think that's what it's gonna be. I was like, I wanna highlight immigrant stories. Wow. So that's, and so I started with friends and family. My whole family, are here from the Dominican Republic. I have a bunch of friends who are immigrants. So I was like, this is what it's gonna be. Just highlight their stories, their journey, what happened. And I was like, I don't wanna get into the messiness of the politics of it. I was like, we're taking that aside. What we're doing is we're just talking about their story, culture shocks and things like that. So that's how the American dream in the eyes of immigrants was born. Yeah.
The name is it's fabulous.
Thank you.
Describes very well what it's all about.
Yeah.
But again, we have a writer and copyright. She's cheating. She's cheating on us.
Cheating.
Cheater. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. It's brilliant because I've never, and I know that's the power of podcasts, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. It's because it amplifies so much that for so many years ago, and let's say technology and in other ways, platform that was not exposed. Today's day, we have that luxury and that blessing that we can open up. Before it used to be our what is it called, advisors of psychology that were dealing with issues on, especially those young kids that are such a culture shock, and so that can make them embrace them. And we'll talk about it, I'm sure. We're going to go to your show, and then I'm going to share definitely our experiences. And you definitely, hit that little part of me. And no matter how old I am, I always will remember that feeling. Being a 10-year-old coming to a new land. But then having this platform that people can express themselves and other people connect, I think is the power of it.
Yes.
That they can feel like I was not the only one going through it. I was not the only one that felt that way. And it's okay. It brings some type of normality in that sense. So you tell me about how the vision was created.
Yes.
You launched it in the middle of a pandemic. having your daughter, sure, going through all this. I have my daughter in 2018, so I know all the feelings and the hormones and not knowing what the world's it's going to happen. Can we say that fear of not knowing is what pushed you?
I want to say yes, it definitely was, but it was just like something that like was just in me that I want to do and it wasn't going away, right? So it was like, yes, the feeling came in 2019 and then like years later it's like, okay, this feeling is still not going away. Like I need to do something about it. And doing it, I've realized like I have a talent for interviewing. And it wasn't until, I mean, yes, and also when a guest told me too, she was like, after I heard my episode, I didn't realize like that I talked more than what I actually wanted to talk about. Not in a bad way either.
Of course.
She was just like, you really knew what questions to ask and really knew how to like get things out of people. And it was just in a natural way. So I was like, wow, like, I enjoy doing it. Like after every episode, I have like this high and I'm like, yes, Lord, like this is it. Like I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I get that with the writing and then I get that with the podcasting. And that's what keeps me going. I mean, yes, it was, the fear at first is like, man, like, are people going to want to listen? Are people actually going to care? But then it's like, I care. And that's really, God cares. And that's to me like really what matters. So he brought this into my heart and he's going to bring the people to listen to it.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So that familiar feeling that I know exactly what you're talking about. Many call it the passion. I call it your calling, especially from God. So every time you're interviewing, that you said that you feel this, and actually I'm asking it for a friend. This feeling that you feel since you're an amazing interviewer. Can you give me some tips, girl? I go, and I'm going to confess to you, I go bananas. Because you know what it is? Leticia's, and for my amazing audience that know my amazing producer, Leticia, she studied this. She has her master's in communication and all this fanciness that she's just so incredible. And before I see any guests, which, pardon me, you're the first one that I was like, okay, I'm going to do my own questions. And I just ran it with her. She's like, yeah, you did good. To me, it's one of my biggest challenges because I get nervous and I overthink things. One, because I'm not going to lie, bro. Guys, it's my freaking accent. I'm like, the wrong word's going to come out. I'm going to say the wrong thing. But you're right. This platform makes us that rawness that people want to know, that it's not overproduced. It's just us trying to do something that is so passionate about it. So going back to my questions, how do you do to prepare yourself? Or what is that key that you say, this is what I use or want to know from every guest that I have?
Well, I want to say, first of all, you have an accent because you know more than one language. Like,
True.
They're like, and you're intelligent. People who are bilingual are more intelligent. So stop with that whole negativity. My accent. No, your accent is your superpower.
Girl, but my Spanish sucked too.
So does mine. Sometimes I forget a word in English and Spanish. I'm like, how am I supposed to communicate if I don't know English or Spanish?
Same way.
Yes.
Tell me, Heidy.
But no, honestly, because my thing is about immigration and the whole journey and everything, I do send out the questions beforehand just because I want to make the guests feel comfortable. That they're comfortable and that they know what they're sharing. Because I have had guests tell me like, no, I don't want you to ask this question. I don't want to talk about that. Or they've actually changed the perspective. Like, oh, I want to change it to like this. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's better.
Okay.
Just because again, it's their story. Sometimes it can be, traumatic depending on how they got here. So, but honestly, it's just beforehand. I also talk to them before the podcast just to get like the vibe of each other and telling them how it's gonna go.
Okay, check.
So that's usually that's what I do.
Cool, you're definitely a natural.
Thank you.
I was just put in this position by somebody that I know, and I happen to love it.
Awesome.
No jokes around, guys. It's just beautiful to see, the differences and the power of each person forte. and their weaknesses, and definitely God is such a perfect creator that he just made us all perfect to what we need and in the moments that we need things.
Yeah.
What you want the world to know you for, Heidy?
Ooh.
I didn't send you that question. I didn't send her anything. Producer, we need to do better.
Why do I want the world to know me? Honestly, I always say that I pray that people will see Jesus in me, to be completely honest. So I try to be as loving as I can, as kind, share knowledge that I know. So I just want people to know that I am a follower of Jesus and try to be the best that I can, help as much as I can. I'm all about empowerment and, like we were talking about off air, collaboration and just networking. So I've been very, very grateful for the connections that God has done lately in my life, that I'm just like in awe, like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe, I'm talking to this person or I'm connected to that person. But I just want people to know me for my love and my kindness, to be honest.
Love it.
Yeah.
Definitely, we need more of that.
We do. We do.
More, I think not only love and kindness, it's more true love in the sense of more acceptance, in the sense that when you love somebody, you love it even when they're imperfections.
Say
Right.
that again. Say that again.
So
Yes.
a lot of time we say, I love you, but, or I love this, but, and who are sometimes us to judge? You talk about your faith.
Yes.
Big subject for me, for me and my husband. Everything around us has to revolve. Our life and our business and all our endeavors have to do with him in the middle. And then you'll find out. I'll tell you a little bit more on whenever we would sit down, because I can sit here and just tell you all the amazing things that God have done in my life ever since I was 6 years old. When did your faith started with Jesus?
So my family has always believed in God, but we weren't like always going to church. So we always talked about God, pray to God, thank God for everything. So I was always a believer. And I think growing up, like I said, I had a lot of Mexican friends and things like that. So I would hear them talking about their baptism and their first communion and everything. And then when my dad and my stepmom got together, she grew up in a Catholic church. So I did everything, in the Catholic church, just thinking like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Because I hear my friends talking about it and everything. But I didn't really understand fully what that was. And so after that, I stopped really going to church completely. I had faith and everything. But I want to say in high school, I started seeking out different churches in my hometown on my own. So I remember going with a friend in her family to their church. And then I stopped going to that one. So it was just kind of a back and forth. But when I fully committed to living for God was after my relationship with my daughter's dad. Because it was just traumatic and there was just a lot of trauma. And I'm just I don't want to feel hurt anymore. I don't want to feel F love that's not real kind of stuff. Because I did believe in love, and then if you have faith, it's God is love. You can have a marriage, people be faithful and things like that. So it wasn't until that period in my life that I was okay, I want to fully commit my life to God because I need to turn things around. When you're angry and bitter, nada te sale bien. Everything goes bad because you attract that negativity and that bad. And I'm just I don't want my life to be like this anymore. So I had been invited to, I was already here in Florida. So I had been invited to a church. It was 15 minutes from the apartment that I was living at. And so I went and I liked it. And so I was you know what? I'm going to go every Sunday and I'm going to be involved. So I was really putting myself out there because I didn't know anybody at the church. I had been invited, but And so I got involved. I started going to their small groups on Monday nights. And I wasn't sharing what was going on, but I was listening a lot. And
of course.
They taught me, how to read the Bible, read it for 20 minutes, pray and worship. And then it was just fun. It was nice having that connection with other people my age. It was very nice to hear the word and read the Bible with other people, which I had never done before. And in addition to that, I started serving in the church too. So I started serving with the youth. So I would go every Wednesday night and be an adult leader for the youth. And that really is what changed my life around. And when I really was like, okay, I want to fully commit my life to God. And then from there, it just went up, honestly. Like, I was not looking for a relationship, but at that time, that's when God brought me my now husband. And yeah, and I'm just like, after, I committed and decided, it was just like up from there. And so I'm just so grateful, like you said, like the things that God has done in my life, it's amazing.
That's beautiful to hear.
Thank you.
That's beautiful to hear that God does, and transform and restore and heal.
Yes.
That broken heart. And a lot of time you said something that stuck to me, and you said, I was attracting more negativity, and I was attracting, tragic and chaotic thing. And a lot of times, I just feel like sharing this, a lot of times we question why we attract that. And that first thing that comes to our mind is the lack of forgiveness. And when we truly allow God to come into our heart, we also have to forgive.
Yep.
The same way he forgive us. And then when you truly start walking with him and start having those true forgiveness moment is when he start healing, he start restoring, and he start like, that flower in that garden, putting that water, putting that right soil, putting that, comidita. And that's the beautiful thing about serving God, that I said something very polemical last time. I said, I'm not Christian. And they're like, what? I'm definitely not Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus. I want to be labeled for what I follow and what I try to make to just at least make me him in whatever I can, because the label and the thing, everybody feels that when you have that label, they figure you out. And that's exactly what I want them to figure me out by.
I had a discussion about that, because I had posted, I was like, I don't know, sometimes I don't want to call myself a Christian, especially because of the bad rep that Christians get, right? And I was like, I don't want to be lumped into that.
Yeah.
And then I had a conversation with a friend, and she was like, well, maybe you should, just because so people can see that you are not like that. You're different.
Of course.
And so I had posted on Instagram, recently, like, asked me a question because I had not done that in a while. And that same friend was like, so how do you feel now about like calling yourself a Christian?
And what you said?
Well, I was like, I've been calling myself a believer lately more than actual Christian. But then I was like, but I'm really just focusing on my actions. Can people see that I'm loving? Can people see that I'm kind? Can people see that I'm compassionate? And that's what I'm focusing on more than the label.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
that. And we definitely have a famous closing question. And I think that's what to me speaks the most. And to me, my first interview, Leticia did that. I'm like, I would definitely love to ask this to all of my guests. If you will go back to be that little girl, what will you tell that Heidy?
Oh, I've written letters to my younger self. I have. Oh, man. I would tell her to hang on to God and just trust him and just know that he knows. He knows what's going to happen, and he knows that you're going to get through it. So just hang on and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because, when you're going through it, you don't see that light. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And looking back, it's going to make sense. Everything's going to make sense. So that's what I would tell her.
Love it. Yeah. Love that. I felt that.
Yeah.
I do not want to add nothing else, but they're going to kill me if I do. Guys, if you love this, just share, rate, comment, download in every platform, and you guys know my YouTube. Whoever doesn't want to listen and just want to see it and see our reaction and see this beautiful face. It's beautiful to share each other's story and definitely, just see the struggles and our victories. Above all, a lot of time we talk about our victories and not the struggles. Whatever you guys gonna comment, love, hate, we love them all. But see you guys next time. I love you, my amazing people. Have a blessed day.